Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. What we do is weekly block tutorials for Pat Sloan Sew Along, hosted at her website ilovetomakequilts.com. This week we're going to look at week 5 of the summer camp sew along. This week's block is a take on a log cabin. You'll make 4 units and piece them together. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Okay, grab your fabric, grab your pattern at ilovetomakequilts.com. Join me and we'll show you how it's done. As you can see laid out, this week's block has quite a few pieces and parts, but essentially all we're making is 4 log cabin-esque type blocks and putting them together. So that we don't get turned around or confused, I'm going to lay them out here before I start sewing, noting that the opposite corners are identical, so I will only be looking like I'm doing 2 blocks, but I will be making all 4 at the same time. Okay, so with that all laid out, what we can do is these 2 and these 2 will both get sewn on that seam, so I'm going to stack those and put them over near the machine. And these 2, the pattern directs you to put this piece on first to these, but I am going to actually join those together now along this seam. So what we need to do, rotate these this way and they come into my stack so that I can chain piece over at the machine, and then we'll come back and make sure we've got it right. Over at our pressing station now, we're going to press all of these towards the darker of the 2 fabrics. Okay, now referring back to your pattern, and remember we're making 2 at a time of each, we're going to put these the way they need to be sewn, and now we're going to sew down this one. So again, we can make our little stack, take them over to our machine and stitch. Okay, so they're all sewn together, and now what we need to do is make sure that we press in the right direction. For the ones with the dark fabric, you can just flip it up and press, and this makes sure that all of the seam allowances are going that way. This will allow for nesting. Yes, I'm obsessed with nesting, can you tell? It helps with accuracy. That's the main reason. Now on these ones, you'll note that they're upside down because the seam allowance is going this way to oppose that one there. So we are going to press towards the pieced unit, which is contrary to most. But you will see once we go to sew these together, we will have opposing seams for locking. So while it's strange, it's necessary. Now that they're pressed, we need to add our outside pieces, which I have over here. So to take these over, we're going to flip this one around and place this on top there, and then we can sew down all these seams in a chain piecing. And I'll do that and come back to you here at the pressing mat. Okay, so they're all sewn and we're back here at the pressing station, and I've laid it out as it's going to be sewn together so that I can just show you, and a few people asked on the previous videos why I clip seams and how I actually do it, and I know I was going a bit fast and glossed over it. So at this point in time, we have opposing seams here and here on all the blocks, so they will sew together quite nicely. When we come to sew the top and the bottom together, this seam will automatically nest and this seam will automatically nest. But these ones on the outside, if we press them both the same, we're going to have a little bit of bulk there. So what I do to alleviate this is take the block, clip into the seam but not past the stitches, place this one back here and do the same on this one. Not past the stitches, and then these two we can just automatically press out, but these ones here, we need this seam allowance to go that way, so we take it and flip it under while pressing the rest of it up that way, and then press as normal. That again on this one. We're going to tuck that one under and fold the rest of this one back and press. And on the back you can see they now go in opposing directions. So we've still got this less bulky because it's not folded back on itself, but we've got this clipped and pressed in such a way that it will nest on this and again create less bulk. So, because this is upside down, it's a mirror image, but you will see on every single juncture, I have opposing seams for nesting. So that little clip here was necessary just to nest this little point here and reduce the bulk as much as we can. So now let me piece these together and I'll be back. Okay, so they're both sewn together now. And because we've nested all of our seams nicely, we can just press to one side and it won't be very bulky at all. If you prefer, you can press open. And as you can see, I've had to unpick this because I hit stop instead of record on the camera. So now we need to just sew this last seam. And again, because we did that little bit of clipping, every single one of these seams will nest across. And again, that is now sewn. And because of all of this nesting that you can see, we can again just press to one side or open if that's your preference. Give it a nice press this time. And that is your block done. Thanks for joining me again this week, folks. I have fun making these videos and I hope you enjoy them. Why don't you leave me a comment as to what else you would like to see me do to help you on your quilting journey. So once again, thanks for joining me and I'll see you next week.